Frankfurt Am Main International Airport in Germany to fly on Condor Air's seasonal route up to Anchorage, Alaska in their business class cabin. Condor does offer 4 types of check-in areas here in Frankfurt: business class, premium economy, as well as those going to the United States, since you aren't allowed to check in online for these United States flights and they do have a different set of regulations. After getting through security and customs, I went to the lounge and spent most of the time there until the flight was ready to board. Condor does not have their own lounge here at Frankfurt Airport, but those business class passengers on Condor do get access to Lufthansa's business lounge, but since it is not a Condor branded lounge, I'm not going to go over it in depth in this video. After spending some time in the lounge, it was about time for me to head to the gate for my flight to Anchorage. For my flight to Anchorage, we would be using gates 60 through 63, which meant we would be boarding the aircraft via a bus and air stairs. If you do have a gate assigned between 60 and 63, do make sure to get to the gate a little bit earlier, as they do start and end the boarding process a little bit earlier. That way they can get all the passengers on the bus and out to the aircraft. So do make sure to pay close attention to the end boarding time on your boarding pass. As with my flight, it was scheduled to depart at 3:50, but the boarding process does end at 3:10, 40 minutes before it's scheduled to depart. Once the boarding time ended at 3:10, the doors of the buses closed and we headed out to the aircraft. For normal passengers, they don't really like getting on a bus and going out to the aircraft, as it does take some extra time, but as an aviation enthusiast, I absolutely love this way of going out to the plane, as this almost certainly means we will be boarding our aircraft via air stairs, which means we can get up and personal with the aircraft.
Sitz eines Kinderwagens sein, der verladen werden muss, so geben Sie diesen bitte beim Ladepersonal am Flugzeug ab. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit. Wir wünschen Ihnen einen angenehmen Flug und auf Wiedersehen in Frankfurt. Ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes we will welcome you on board our Condor aircraft. In order to make boarding easier for you, please.
My aircraft for the flight over to Anchorage would be DANRP, an Airbus A330-900neo that was delivered directly to Condor in June of 2024 and currently wears the beige beach livery. My seat for this flight would be 8K, a window on the right side of the aircraft. And waiting at my seat for me was a pillow as well as a blanket, headphones to borrow, a travel organizer, and a water bottle. Also in the footwell of my seat there was a mattress pad which I could use when I put my seat into a bed. Before leaving the gate, they came around with your choice of either orange juice, champagne, or water. They also brought around the menu for the meal, but I'll go over that more once we're in the air.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Mario Hagen, and with me in the cockpit my colleagues Mr. Pascal Schmidt and Jan Kamp-Schulte. Together with our excellent cabin crew, I have the pleasure to fly this service to destination Anchorage. We are now ready, expect departure runway 25 in westerly direction, and the flight time is calculated as 9 hours and 20 minutes. Enjoy your flight. Thanks for listening.
Führen Sie den Gurt um die Körperhaken in einem Ziel fest. Laden Sie die Weste nicht im Flugzeug auf. In business class, all handles must be strictly in the overhead pockets. Emergency exit seatways, aisles, and spaces in front of the walls must be kept clear at all times.
let's go over some features of the in-flight entertainment screen before the food comes.
Cabin crew.
Condor's in-flight entertainment system is very in-depth, and I'll go over some of the features. They have the Skyline Cafe in which you can browse food as well as beverages that you can purchase on board. Here's the section where you can look at different TV shows that are available to watch during the flight. They have a section with their award-winning movies. There are also videos on how to do different things with your seats, depending on which cabin you're in, and you can look at different tutorials for them as well. There's a section with videos on how to relax during your flight, including different meditation as well as yoga moves that you can do from your seat. They have different videos about Condor. There is also a section of landing videos where you can watch clips from landing at different Condor destinations and a view from the nose gear. There is of course a clock where it shows the local time in Frankfurt as well as your destination, which for me is Anchorage. And then of course every aviation enthusiast's favorite, the moving map. Which is especially interesting on this flight considering we are going directly north from Frankfurt to get to Anchorage.
Angebot und die Preise. Circa 2 Stunden vor unserer Landung bieten wir Ihnen noch ein Abendessen an. In unserer Speisekarte finden Sie auch eine Übersicht aller Getränke, die wir Ihnen gerne während.
Right next to the screen there is a button which releases your tray table. And then once the tray table is down, you can pull it out and get it even closer to you. In business class, you also get an amenity kit that has an eye mask as well as socks and a reusable toothbrush. The business class amenity kit also differs from that in premium economy, as the business one does come with lip balm as well as moisturizer. This is the business class menu on Condor, and I'm not going to go over every single item as there is a lot. So if you'd like to look at the individual items, you're welcome to pause the video on the pages you want to see. I'll go over more of the seat features after the food, as it did come out relatively quickly. About 30 to 40 minutes after takeoff, they came around with a tablecloth as well as a hot towel, followed roughly 10 minutes later by a bowl of nuts and your choice of drink, which for me was a Condor Neapolitan.
Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, your first officer speaking. My name is Pascal Schmidt, and together with my colleagues, I'm flying to Anchorage today. We have now reached our cruising altitude of 38,000 feet, that's 11.6 kilometers above mean sea level, and at the moment we are still in German airspace. On the right hand side you are able to see the Elbe River, and from here on we will continue to the Northern Sea, and thereafter straight to the Atlantic Ocean. We will fly. Our routing takes us north of Iceland and thereafter to Greenland, and then via northern Canada directly to Alaska. We expect an on-time arrival, and for the moment I hope you feel comfortable on board. Enjoy the flight. The weather forecast is pretty smooth, so we don't expect any turbulence for our cruise flight to Anchorage. And I will talk to you again later, shortly prior our descent to Anchorage, with the latest weather report. For the moment, thank you for listening.
The starter was cream cheese chili dip, lemongrass prawn, carrot delice, green asparagus, yuzu mayonnaise, along with Italian burrata, tomato, green pesto and basil, chicken filet salad with romaine lettuce, parmesan, and Caesar dressing, along with your choice of bread, which for me was a pretzel roll and garlic bread. You were able to get another drink, and I did get Brewdog, mostly for the fact it came in a Condor-themed can, which of course I kept. Along with this adorable salt and pepper shaker that is in the shape of an airplane, which you could also keep and take home with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the right hand side you have a very nice view of the famous island of Sylt and the most northern tip of Germany.
For the main course, you did have a choice of 3 options, pork, fish, or pasta, and I went with the pork tenderloin that had potatoes, hollandaise sauce, as well as white German asparagus. For dessert, they did offer cheesecake, which had raspberry sauce, as well as mint on top of it. Now, 2 hours after the initial takeoff, all of the food as well as dessert has been cleaned up for the most part, and it's time to go over the seat features before I take a nap. Near your arm are some seat control buttons, including the one that turns on the light above you, one that adjusts your lumbar support forward and back, one that puts your seat in a recline mode, a button to put your seat into the bed and lie flat position, and of course the one that puts it back into the mode for takeoff and landing. Near the front of your seat there is a coat hook, and behind you they do have more features like this light. Also slightly behind you is the headphone jack, as well as the USB A and C port and the power outlet. There is also a retractable remote, which does have a very nice metal back. On the top of the remote it has your route as well as how long is left in the flight. Of course, as well as the home button, the back button, and the pause and play button. Towards the bottom of the remote, there is also the flight attendant call button, which I of course am not going to push, as well as a button to turn on the light above you. And a volume raise and lower button. At the top of the remote, there is also a scroll pad similar to what you may find on a laptop, which you can use to select things on the screen. Near your feet there is a storage area where the safety card is kept, along with the sick bag and the magazine showing duty-free items that Condor sells during its flight, including 2 very AV Geek type items, which are a Lego model of its aircraft and a 1/200 model of this A330neo, along with other aircraft in its fleet. By this point in the flight, I had finished my first movie, and we are now about 3 hours into the journey, and passing by Iceland. I decided to put my seat into the lie-flat position to test how comfortable the mattress pads they gave us truly are, and the answer was super duper comfortable. Woke up with about 2.5 hours left in the flight as we are at our new cruising altitude, passing over Prince Patrick Island. The crew started to turn on the cabin lights as they prepared for the pre-arrival meal. About an hour and a half before landing, we passed over Alaska's northern coastline, which was absolutely beautiful, and it was my first time ever seeing it. For the before landing meal, the starter was baby leaf lettuce with tomatoes, carrots, and Spanish dressing. The main course of this meal was pulled beef, sweet potato puree, broccoli, and barbecue sauce. The dessert was mascarpone cream with sponge cake and rhubarb, along with a bread roll and of course your choice of drink. After the food was cleaned up, I spent pretty much the rest of the flight looking outside the window at the amazing views of Alaska below us.
Dear guests, may I have your attention please? We will now distribute the customs declaration for entry into the United States of America. One form per family is enough. It's important to answer every question.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, your first officer again. We are now about 8 hours and 40 minutes in the air. Remaining flight time from now on about 45 minutes, so we expect an on-time arrival. We will leave our cruising altitude in the next 15 minutes and start our descent.
Solo, Condor 2050 Heavy ILS 15.
Condor 2050 Heavy Tower 115, clear to land.
Clear to land 15, Condor 2050.
2050 Heavy left on Mike, taxi via Mike to November 4.
Mike November 4, Condor 2050, thank you.
Herzlich willkommen in Anchorage, liebe Gäste. Bitte bleiben Sie noch so lange angeschnallt sitzen, bis wir unsere endgültige Parkposition erreicht haben und die Anschnallzeichen über Ihnen erloschen sind. Beim Öffnen der
I had a great flight on Condor in their business class cabin from Frankfurt to here in Anchorage. The food was amazing and the crew was delightful as well, and I definitely have a handful of keepsakes from this flight that I will be putting into my collection. This route between Frankfurt, Germany and Anchorage is the state's only passenger link between the two cities and the continent of Europe, and Condor does currently operate this flight twice a week but will increase it to 3 times in the middle of June, and will continue this route until the middle of September, as this is a seasonal route for them. Another fun aspect of this flight is going from Frankfurt to Anchorage. You do go back about 10 time zones, and with this flight being around 9 hours and 20 minutes, you land in Anchorage about 40 minutes before you even take off from Frankfurt, meaning that even though you just got done with a 9-hour flight, you still have pretty much the rest of the day to enjoy and you haven't lost any time at all. This is the small international baggage claim here at the North Terminal, and all of the signs here are in Japanese, German, and English, the 3 languages that are most likely to be spoken by passengers arriving here. Due to the customs and gate setup here at Anchorage Airport, all passenger flights coming from non-free clearance destinations will arrive into the North Terminal, and then once all of the passengers and cargo are off, they will tow the aircraft over to the South Terminal, as that is where TSA and all of the facilities are located, as it doesn't make sense to staff this entire terminal just for the limited international departures that this airport does have.